how we can expand the messaging from bottom funnel to top of funnel, and hook would be one of the most important things here. Obviously, we know what a hook is. Obviously, they've kind of opening parts. Some people it's like 3 seconds. For some creative, it can be 3 to 10 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. But initially, that kind of first initial entry point with anyone basically without ad. And it's obviously the most important thing to make him watch all the ad, but also educate properly and frame him so he can actually buy our product, buy our service. So the primary job, which I think a lot of people actually just miss, is essentially stopping the right kind of audience, not just any audience here. Because some people just try to kind of go the clickbaity route, which is definitely not the most effective ones. And Meta will naturally optimize for the highest engaging metrics. So let's say that you have a very strong thumbs-up ratio and you're getting a lot of engagement in terms of like people stopping and watching through your ad. Meta, yes, will naturally think that this is going to be a better ad as well. Obviously, in theory, at scale, it should be happening, but I still have seen Meta pivoting a lot of spend there, despite being, again, I guess, a weak overall kind of creative in terms of performance, just because the hook is so strong and it just captures people. It's just been easier for Meta to just pivot spend there. But yeah, the most important thing is capturing that kind of audience. And the secondary job is open a curiosity loop. This is essentially how we can carry the views from that hook and keep them intrigued into watching all through the ad and jumping into the website. And obviously, the third job of a good hook is, like I said, to prime intent by aligning pain, problem, persona, and the product solution within seconds. This is how we basically have high converting ads, how we can prime the someone who doesn't even know our brand into thinking that our brand is the single most important thing that they can do to solve their own problem. Now, some key metrics I'm going to take a look at is the thumbs up ratio, effectively like the percentage of people who watch the 3 seconds. Now, target is 20 to 30%, roughly. This is very account dependent, business dependent, scale dependent, and budget dependent as well. But I think anything lower than 20% is just very hard to scale. Now, have I seen ads that scale with like 11% thumbs up ratio? Absolutely yes. But again, as you scale more spend, the efficiency of our spend is going to be depend on like how many people we can drive through the ad and through the kind of website. So as you can see, if like 5 to 10% of people that we are paying to watch the ad essentially are just jumping into and watch the ad, and maybe like a 2% of the 1% of those get to the website, you can see the economics there are going to be very difficult at scale essentially. Conservation is one of the most important things. It's more so how we can improve against the benchmark rather than just comparing across other accounts or other businesses. Because it's like very dependent, especially like for those businesses have more of a niche um kind of problem, you're probably gonna see much lower thumbs up ratio just because I like more less people across the whole pool that are gonna be interested in what we have to say. But just to go back into what makes an ad hook effective and at scale, I think always ask the question if this is relevant to my audience and if this is opening a curiosity loop to carry people through the ad and watch the whole ad, and as we're gonna see, is it relevant to our I was speaking to kind of a specific persona here, that again it's very simple for them to understand what are we kind of selling here. Now moving into the next part is like the formula that I've seen in terms of like a top performing hook. Basically you can really copy this. It's pattern interrupt. So basically something that we need to basically like interrupt the current like scroll stopping kind of ritual in terms of like people go to the kind of meta Instagram, whatever that is, and they just they just scroll, right? So we want to have something that interrupts the kind of scroll pattern. Maybe that's different visual, maybe that's different, and we are going to mention in terms of like what's exactly on that pattern interrupt and what makes also a very effective hook, or the key three elements as well, from a more kind of technical perspective. But essentially what we need to look at here is like how we can, I guess, stop the scroll with the pattern interrupt, something that is different, something maybe that is a bit more abrupt. Now, don't go on to the other way route to producing a very clickbaity hook, because obviously that also doesn't work. Now, one of the most important things, like I mentioned, is going to be that angle piece. which essentially is the persona pain and the outcome. So we need to align on the first 3 seconds or 5 seconds, either calling out very kind of direct the key personas that we're talking through, or through the outcome or through the problem, we are still speaking to the key persona that we want to attract, but obviously we don't calling them out directly. But it's super important that we making things are very, very relative here. I think it's super important to again be conscious that obviously we are paying money to distribute our ads, so we need to make sure these are very specific to our persona and to our customer audience, especially now that we can do a lot of in terms of like audience targeting, right? So we need to marry that in with the persona's pain and outcome, and we're also going to see a few examples in a bit. Then, like I said, is that curiosity look how we can keep the person watching essentially. Now, what makes an actual good hook in terms of a more technical kind of approach? Now, one of the things here is going to be obviously the actual visual, which is one of the most important things, right? Is like, do we have visuals that our ideal customer will actually stop and scroll? That would be relevant. For example, if you're a pet food brand, have the dog on the initial frame most of the time, right? Or have a frame of a dog with a kind of person on the initial frame, or on the initial kind of 2 3 seconds. Now it's going to be audio, which essentially means like how we can stop the scroll and how we can make effective hook through a kind of audio element. It doesn't have to be again something like completely pattern interrupt. It's more so like potentially again on the audio piece, maybe we have um something more specific to our customers again here, maybe like a bark, for example, if it's like a pen brand or something relevant here. And the third is now by copy, I mean not obviously the primary text here, I mostly mean essentially like either the hook text, so something that you write on top of that hook, essentially. You're probably gonna see like a bit of a headline, something, or just the actual like words from the creator or whoever is actually speaking, maybe it's like voiceover, the actual copy that will stop the scroll. So these are like the most important elements here to take into account in terms of like thinking like when you try to kind of write a hook after you obviously got that text down in terms of like what would be the best your hook. We need to think of like how we can package this in a way that visually it's again something very, very effective to capture our ideas audience attention, but also from a kind of audio perspective, what do we think is going to be relevant again to capture their attention. Now, into the more kind of tactical stuff. The most common hook structures that I've seen, and again, we are going to see a few examples here in terms of like very effective hooks. So bear with me on this one. But one of the most important things here is going to be the comparison is going to be so important here. Like for example, one of the best performing ads recently is basically a brand that sells creatine essentially, and there is a video from the founder themselves saying this creatine, it just pulls the kind of product like that, like this. Obviously, it is blurred, costs 5 times less than our creatine. You might be wondering like why to choose us or to choose ours essentially, and then goes into a kind of educational piece on like how we different and how we stand apart from the competition, which I think is such a strong hook because again we are calling out a very specific product a very specific audience, which someone who's potentially naturally interested in creating or use creating themselves, and is a very patent interrupted kind of messaging like it costs 5 times less than our creating. So you might be wondering why I choose ours. It's also very a bit controversial and very like intriguing and has that open curiosity loop that we talked about. Now, hidden answer. The secret to goes on your better product. Now, this is also a bit of a more, I guess, more so that curiosity loop kind of a spectrum where essentially we especially we have the kind of a bit of the hidden option here, like the secret to losing weight, really is your, I guess, your kind of gut health or something like very, very again intriguing. We need also make it very, very relevant as well here. So another good one, investment is such a great one. What I like to do is like more so to lean on that failed solution. Like after months of months and like $10,000 wasted on detox products, this is what actually worked. So it's basically like people naturally want to preserve energy, and our brain kind of will optimize naturally to preserving energy. So a hook like that is just such an effective thing, because obviously people feel like they are kind of gaining a lot of experience and a lot of kind of, I guess, they are saving all this energy and money, and hearing from someone what's actually worked. So scam, finally exposing collagen industry. The collagen industry is scamming us again, very, very, I guess, out of the top kind of hook. Again, very again, building that intrigue. Now, this is more so from like very top of funnel that, it will work. As you can see, this can go a bit towards that spectrum that we are not very relevant to all our ideal customers. Yes, we are talking about collagen, probably someone who uses collagen, but we're not really calling out specific problems. So we need to make sure after that we are being very specific in terms of like the pains and the problems that we are, I guess the kind of common narratives here. Give me time. This is not great for ecom, but service businesses also do very well. Give me like 15 seconds. I'll show you why the solution keeps failing, or buying more supplements keeps failing. Again, I don't really like the give me 50 seconds, but you can go very direct in terms of, I'll show you why your keeps failing, as a trusted expert. For example, as a nutritionist, give me 5 seconds, I'm going to give you why this is your main reason why you're gaining weight, something like that. POV, again, it can be a great one, especially like since the popularity of that concept organically. It can be a few different ways. It can be again through, I guess, calling out the main benefit. Like for example, POV, you discovered something that actually works when it comes to creatine or something like that. Yeah, very, very organic led, very, very great hook, and definitely great thumbs up ratio for that. Now, demographic, I think this is one of the most common ones, especially for that problem and solution aware segment. Like if you're over 40, or if you get 3 p.m. crashes, like women over 40, you probably have heard creatine, but I guarantee you haven't heard about, our sahets. Again, something that we're calling out specifically our customer, but also the problem here. Common reply, one of my favorites, because it's just consistently just gets such a high thumbs up ratio. It's stupid. And you can do a lot of things around like common reply. Some of the best videos that we've seen are the founder replying to some of the most common objections, most common kind of, I guess, narratives around the products. Maybe that is price, maybe that there is a lot of competition, maybe like that, this didn't work, and just goes into a more direct response way of like tackling each one of those problems. And yeah, it's such an effective hook, to be honest. And it's just again resembles something that people get used to seeing in organic very, very much, a lot. Now, stat stock also very important, and very, I guess, if you can also marry that with like a more, I guess, um, trusted kind of expert kind of angle, like 1 in 5 suffer from X, here's why and how to fix it. Again, such an important stop scroller, and not just stop scroller, but actually something that keeps attention and captures the right kind of attention. Now, danger, even this how about this about overflow, the same reason your keeps breaking, for example, the same reason your gut health keeps breaking, or your kind of, I don't know, again, something that we are basically signaling danger and signaling something that we need to, the person needs to take action really fast. And myth busting is such an amazing one, to be honest. Myth busting is essentially like we need to bring to bring to the forefront some of the common narratives around our kind of products, or is there what's going to be, I guess, the mainstream solution of our product that potentially just hasn't worked, or maybe there's like some huge myths in our industry that we want to break, and we can then tie our product in terms of like how it solves that. For example, there was a point I feel like that you couldn't eat carbs after 7 p.m., something like that. This is not true. And, we have this supplement, for example, where, yes, this is actually not true, but you can also use this to further, help, like, I guess, carb control and kind of insulin control and this stuff like that. So how we can connect essentially, or maybe a myth busting, it can be you need to be, X to achieve Y. And this is also something great to bring it to the forefront from a kind of, again, angle perspective. And I think it's such a great visual in terms of like, I still think this is one of the most important things that people do wrong, because maybe in terms of like introducing the product. Because think about it, an ad should be something. Obviously, we kind of want to sell the product here, and even if we are going very top of funnel, it's still very relevant to bring the product as much as possible into our creative. So don't do the mistake of like introducing a product, too early as well here, but also don't do the mistake of not introducing the product at all. Usually, I tend to introduce the product as fast as possible, to be honest, but this needs to be gradually, right? Especially on those top of funnel angles I'm really talking about, because obviously when you're talking about bottom funnel, middle funnel, you can be obviously more direct response and really, tackle all those key points essentially in terms of like selling points, the objections, and everything. But let's say that um this is the kind of product awareness product, and this is the awareness. Essentially, it needs to be something like this. So we have no product here, essentially, and we're slowly introducing that, slowly, and making a call to action. It's something like this, essentially. So in the hook, it's more so like, pain, persona led, and then we bring essentially the product slightly in by educating and introducing our solution. This is how we kind of bring the product in. Now into some of the more fun stuff, I guess. And then we're gonna go into some of the examples as well here. In terms of like what's very important, because I feel like people obviously try to create hooks, but obviously they have no real structure in terms of like who they're speaking to, right? So we all need to think about like where we are stand in the funnel, and essentially before we go into this one, like obviously inside the account, we're not gonna be restructuring the stuff into top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. But Meta now naturally is gonna go from, okay, does this ad speak to more top of funnel people? And then it will naturally then go into and show our ads that are more middle funnel or bottom funnel that can really get the purchase. Obviously, potentially this is going to be, lowest efficiency, but higher scale. And then we have, then it will naturally go into that middle funnel, bottom funnel in terms of like the sequence that Meta will naturally deliver the ad to get that objective that we want essentially. So what that means basically, we need to create content for pretty much all the kind of stages of the funnel and make sure we have enough video content specifically for the top of funnel to naturally then use, uh, also some more middle funnel, bottom funnel videos, but also more statics as well to just capture the kind of the best of it essentially. Now, obviously, especially with how we want and where we are in the funnel, we need to start speaking on the from an unaware perspective into more so the problem aware, solution aware, pretty much everything here, right? So as you can see, unaware is basically someone who don't even know they have a problem, right? Obviously, the more you scale, this is going to be even more high percentage of your ad spend, but initially it doesn't have to be a lot, maybe like a few creatives here and there. But it's mostly to educate around, especially and just to caveat of that, it will also depend on your business. Maybe you are in a business that needs a lot more education. For example, you are selling a high ticket, I don't know, very specific like machine or something, or like something that it needs a lot more education around, maybe like a supplement or like a $30 ticket item. Now, they don't even know how to detect problems. So we need to go be around education and myth busting and really calling out common narratives. For example, why successful people never eat breakfast anymore? And maybe we need to then introduce I don't know, our version of like protein bar or whatever that is. Your water bottle could be sabotaging your sleep. Again, very, very top, very, very top level. Okay, maybe those have some ideas into like maybe the kind of microplastics and everything, maybe some of the issues there, but they're not really like really like very specific looking for that. On the problem that way is much more simpler, and I think that's the problem and solution where like the highest percentage of like creative that you need to guys create, unless we're talking about just killing from 10K a day plus. Now, can't focus past 2 p.m. Here's why, and the fix, problem solution very fast. Bloat it after every meal. Try eliminating this one thing. Again, as you can see, we're also tapping into the persona, the pain that is relevant, but also the curiosity loop, which is very, very important. On the solution aware, again, why switch from melatonin to magnesium glycinates? Again, very, very USP led. People know about melatonin, low magnesium, but they don't need like the mechanics behind it too, I guess. Or like collagen vs bone broth, which ones actually works. They know they have that specific, they have that pain that, and they know they need the solution, and potentially know the solution is how we can position a product as being the main solution. I tested 5 product patterns. Here's the only one worth buying. Proof and positioning. Product aware, again, more so around social proof, objections, offers. This is where we kind of need to tap into here. So for example, is the Oura Ring worth $300? Such a great kind of angle. Now, this is very important to point out. I've seen objection-led kind of hooks and objection-led creatives scale to the high spending asset inside the account. This can be also top of funnel, but obviously it potentially needs to be not Oura, maybe it needs to be, yeah, obviously Oura is maybe not a great example. For example, if you have like a multivitamin or like a supplement that is like, we all know, like, creatine is out there, for example, at like, $5, and you have a product that does 30. How can you justify, for example, paying $30 for creatine when you have, other solution in the market that are like much, much cheaper? This is very top of funnel, even if it kind of brings that objection forward, because it's not just a product objection, it's also a bit of a um and a common narrative, and more so like a solution objective or objection, right? It's like around myth busting again. I'm not gonna spend too much time, but yeah, as you can see, last go, buy two and get one free. Again, you can use some of the stuff. You can feel free to kind of copy as well. But essentially, like, as a kind of rough rule of thumb in terms of like what I've seen working, is like the lower the funnel, the more direct response your code becomes. We need to be even more specific. Obviously, people know us essentially, and then we need to move from curiosity to education, differentiation, proof, and offer as the awareness increases. As you can see, like, the more unaware, the more curiosity and education we need to do, and tap into the differentiation. The less, the more awareness, the more that we need to lean into differentiation, proof, and offer. Obviously, I think that kind of completely makes sense, but I thought that would be good to kind of mention as well. Now, let's dive into a couple of examples that I think do a great job into doing this. Personalization. Let me just watch this through. Now, as you can see here, it's such a great hook. It's like, it does everything right, right? Because first of all, it shows like the visual is someone like holding the knee, so it's instantly something around, pain relief. And the copy is, my wife struggled with knee pain for 10 years and she needed help. It's such a, we capture the background of audience, we open the curiosity loop, and we're having a very strong pattern trap in terms of the visual, very, very relevant. Yes, maybe this doesn't have 40% observation, maybe it has like 30 or 25. But doesn't mean that it's not an effective hook, because obviously we are capturing the right kind of people. And it's just a very emotional led as well, right? Someone says to the kind of personal story. Um, Now, as we see, we introduce a product and 4 or 5 seconds. Now, potentially we could do a bit of the, depending on like what's like, I guess, the purpose of this ad. We could potentially do a bit more around, pain agitation on that, the next 5 to 10 seconds, in terms of like, okay, my wife, had this specific issues or this specific pains when she does this, she tried this supplement, didn't never work. Now, just because it's also a very, I guess, more common, I guess, pain here, we can bring the kind of supplement very, very early, but maybe on those like categories that But again, it's not bad that it introduces the kind of product because then it goes into again education like how it worked and why it's different and like how it reduces inflammation and stiffness and actually showing good examples of like feeling pain free. Now this can be again a bit more pain adjustment, a bit more education, potentially would be an even better creative at scale, but this is such a great hook. Now another one here, which is more so starting like as you can see here, this is a founder-led content ad. This is a founder-like ad and just starts with like the main problem, right? This is a very abrupt hook as well, like still hydrating with sugary powder packets. Potentially, this is questioning some of those people who already have bought some of the hydration packs and kind of the electrolytes as well. So this is super important to call out as well here. But then it goes into again educating around what exactly is on the comparison angle, calling out um calling out different case studies, different studies that you can call out. Again, it really agitates a point, but it has already introduced people in, right? So it's still product relevant. And then it goes into how it's different. It's like it's such an great and effective aspect of them kind of creative here. That again goes back into what we just said before in terms of like capturing the right kind of audience, and then it opens like curiosity loop because obviously then um we did we stopped the right kind of people with like the kind of hydrating powders, but then opposite curiosity loop that okay that guy tells me that you need to stop drinking I guess sugary ones. Okay, what's in it that what's actually bad with those, and it kind of opens the curiosity loop in terms of like explaining that, but also then aligns our pain and problem with the persona, right? Obviously we want the hydration, and we also make it product relevant in those first few seconds. But yeah, I hope no, that was a beautiful day. I hope you really, really enjoyed it. I hope that really helped you out. These are some of the principles that I use when crafting high converting hooks and what I've seen, spending more than 3 million a month in ad spend across different businesses and different e-commerce businesses as well, and doing a lot of consulting as well. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. If you want to get some free resources, share the link below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.